That's your name for the world to see. And it's there. And I'm like, oh my God. So that was just the most terrifying thing.
I'm leaving tonight at 3.
Oh, no. That won't work. Not by yourself. No, we have to see how that would do that. I might need to try something else.
I need to be back by tomorrow.
What time?
Well, really 10 in the morning. But
I have mixed feelings about her driving by herself, but she thinks she can do it.
3 o'clock in the morning. I know she can do it, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning that's disturbing me.
We weren't expecting the mortgage to jump as it did. We are two professional individuals. You know, we both are well educated. Salaries are reasonable, and then we find ourselves in this situation. You know, it can happen to anyone, and that's the frightening part about this whole deal.
I do not want to be out on the street, and I know they will put me out. I've seen them put people out.
And then additionally, seeing how we as a family have been impacted as a result of what's happening. And then you read about it every day in the newspaper. You do see it on the news. And it's a sign of the time, but I think it's a sad commentary in the country in which we live is one where, you know, they talk about the American dream. We live in the richest country in the world, per se. And to have a system in place that makes it difficult for people, hardworking people, to own and maintain a home, I think it's a sad commentary in itself. And I think that's what's become more real to me as a result of having gone through this experience.
Before all of this started happening to me, I didn't read these things. They didn't apply to me. They weren't about me. But I read everything now. Everything, because I know that if it's not me, it's still about me. And what I think, I'm amazed to know that everything we're doing here affects people for so far. It's like a ripple effect. I didn't understand that. I didn't know that there were investors who are getting rich off of people who are getting hurt. I didn't understand that. I'm now beginning to understand that it is a business. It's a much bigger business than I recognize, and that it's a business that needs some type of real regulations. I don't mean just to say there are regulations. I mean real regulations to protect the small people. That's what I think now. Before, it's like you just see this thing and it doesn't mean anything. Now, when I read it, oh yes, it means a lot. It means that I didn't know that there was a town somewhere over in Denmark that was affected by this mortgage industry. I didn't understand that. Today, I'm understanding that it is, and it's more. So I just can't believe how we got like this. And when I say we, I mean we as a country. How do we do this when we tell people to own a house is the dream, and it's what our country is built on?
Patricia McNair, a clinical therapist at Johns Hopkins Medical Center in Baltimore, from the documentary American Casino, which was directed by Leslie Cockburn, co-produced by Andrew Cockburn. Leslie, what happened to Patricia?
Well, it was heartbreaking because when we first were filming with Patricia and her family, we met her first at a community meeting where people are trying to find solutions and avoid foreclosure. So she hadn't been foreclosed on when we first started shooting, and tragically, she lost her house as we were in the edit room. This was a terrible thing because although it's happening to everyone, when it happens to someone who you've come to know very well, it's very upsetting. She's now renting. But that house was very important to her. You know, in a wasteland like inner city Baltimore, one street like Adele Terrace, where neighbors get to know each other and people are sleeping over at each other's houses, this is a kind of precious place that you want to preserve, and yet it's falling apart too.
And the story of Denzel, the school teacher, who almost lost his home. What happened to him? And it tells the story of who owns what, who owns the note. At the beginning, it looks like he's out.
Yeah, well, he went into bankruptcy, which was a way of staving off being kicked out of the house. But he's basically hanging on by his fingernails, which is, you know, especially point because we got to know him so well, and he's got his garden, he's feeding, he's doing community-supported agriculture. He's doing everything anyone living in a city should do. I mean, he's a teacher, he's a pillar of the community, and yet it's like one fingernail for Denzel, and it's and across the country we have a situation now where millions and millions of people are in the foreclosure process, and it's really millions of people are being just kicked out, but millions more are there at the whim of the banks. The banks, according to how they want their balance sheet to look, can say we'll have a few more this month, some fewer ones, people with no security.
These are often bailed out banks, bailed out by taxpayers that are making fortunes, that are giving millions of dollars in bonuses to their execs, and you have the homeowners, the people who've been most hurt at the bottom, who are not being helped out. Can you talk about the pools, Leslie? You go to California.
Well, I just want to say one thing about Denzel, which is that it was very important to us to be able to track one human being to those computer screens in Wall Street where you have these, investment products. And we were able to do that and show that Denzel, who supposedly has a loan with Litton in Texas, Litton is owned by Goldman Sachs. We found him inside a Goldman Sachs investment product that had been put together at the time when former Secretary of the Treasury, Hank Paulson, was running Goldman. So it's a direct line from a high school teacher in inner city Baltimore all the way to the office of the
And how many Goldman Sachs execs surround President Obama?
Oh, God.
We have to wrap now, but 20 seconds on the pools.
Well, the pool, this was a post-apocalyptic scene in Riverside, California, where you see pools, black pools, full of 700, 800,000 breeding mosquitoes. This is now an issue of disease. We go around with these vector control people who are checking on, worried about West Nile virus, rodent infestation in piles of 100% financing signs. This is really, the end of the line.
Well, we're going to leave it there. American Casino, you've got to see it. Folks in New York are lucky because it's opening Wednesday night at Film Forum and then going around the country. Leslie Cockburn is the director of the film. Andrew Cockburn co-produced it. Again, it's called American Casino, and that does it for our broadcast. A very special happy birthday to Hani Massoud and Travis Collins. Democracy Now! Produced by Mike Berkshire, political producer Aaron Mate, Angela Cummins, Steve Martinez, Nicole Salazar, Hani Massoud, Robbie Karen. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for joining us.